Ho, 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 Merry Christmas, you filthy animals. Welcome to the BanterFlix Christmas special. And what a special it is indeed this evening, dear viewers. Joining me this evening is Jim McClean.
Merry Christmas, Jim.
And Claire McCullough.
Merry Christmas, Jim.
We are all feeling suitably festive. Now, last year, we had you on, Joe. We had our Christmas Carol, Christmas special, where we looked at 3 different versions of Charles Dickens' classic. This week, we had to top it. What else could we do? We had to go for a Hallmark Christmas special. And I'm going to throw my hands up and admit right now, it's 2 Hallmark movies and 1 Lifetime movie. Because, I'm sorry viewers, I made a mistake. What can I say? Nobody's perfect. I'm not Ryan Gosling. That's all I can say. So we are going to be talking about 2 very different Hallmark Christmas movies and 1 Lifetime movie. And it's going to be interesting to see what you guys think. Does it leave you feeling suitably festive? Are you ready as Santa prepares to bring those presents? Have watching these films enriched your Christmas season? So without any further ado, let's move on to our first film of the evening, a beloved favourite in the McClean household, that is Mrs. Miracle.
Hey, Mrs. Cooper. Mrs. Larson. Sandy, thank you very much. Seriously, don't worry about the fire. This stuff happens all the time.
You don't need a housekeeper. You need a miracle.
Mr. Webster?
Yes.
I'm Emily Merkel. Judd and Jason.
How'd you know?
It's written on your forehead.
So that's a look at Mrs. Merkel, as we should say, to give her full title. Now, I have a real soft spot for this film. I'm going to say right from the get-go, before you interject, Joe, and before you share your thoughts, Claire, I have a real soft spot for this film. This is a film I remember at the time catching me by attention. Oh, look, there's Dawson from Dawson's Creek. He's playing the piano. He's an eligible widower. He's going to find love. And who else to help him find love but the mum from Everybody Loves Raymond. So what is not to like about this film? Festive joy from Hallmark. Joe, what's your thoughts?
Well,
it never starts well when someone says, well.
Well, hang on. Right. The thing is, when it comes to films in general, you have to look at the intent and the execution of it. And Hallmark films have their particular audience. They have their particular set of things that they intend to do. And this does that. I think it executes it quite well. For what it is, I enjoyed it. But, you know, I'm not going to say it's up there with the likes of Oppenheimer this year or Barbie or something like that. But the thing about this here is I think this is done particularly well for the kind of film that it is. You know, you have, like you said, James Van Der Beek. He's the father with the troubled children. He can't control them. He's going through babysitter after babysitter. And then, you know, Mary Poppins herself, in a way, Hallmark's version in the form of Doris Robertson, comes into his life and just makes things better. So it's just fluff. These films are fluff, but they're comfortable fluff, and they're schmaltzy fluff, and they're the films that, you know, when you're wrapping presents or you're doing decorating the tree, you'd have one of these films on the background, and it's just nice.
Yeah, when I'm making, like I do every year, sherry trifle, one for the trifle, one for me, and then generally kind of lose the way myself, kind of close to midnight, Christmas Eve, I'll happily sit and watch Mrs. Miracle. There's a sequel, and there's also, I've only found out when we started specifically to do this film for this show, that they've actually rebooted the franchise, because unfortunately Doris Roberts has passed away, and they've rebooted that now, so I'm tempted to seek out this new rebooted Mrs. Miracle franchise. It is smulshy. It is kind of, when you think of a Hallmark movie, I guess it ticks all those boxes. But I don't know what it is, and I guess it comes back from, for me, it's what you bring to a film in that sense of, I have a memory of watching that at a very specific time, and with my mum, and just kind of been like, it's one, as you said, Joe, my mum always talks about, sometimes you just want to sit down and watch a nice movie, a warm hug of a movie. Sometimes that's what you need. Give me this type of film in July or August, I will bat you away quicker than anything. It's like Love Actually. I cannot stand the thought of Love Actually around Christmas when I'm wrapping presents happily. And this is where a film like Mrs. Miracle comes. I have a soft spot for it. Claire, you hadn't seen it before. I know Joe hadn't, but what did you think?
I felt like it was a festive mashup of The Holiday and Mrs. Doubtfire. It was fluff, like you just said it was, although Dawson was like the American Jude Law, you know, from The Holiday. It kind of felt like that. And then Mrs. Miracle was Mrs. Doubtfire. So I found that there was quite a few elements from both of those films with a festive spin on it. So I quite enjoyed it. Like, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen. Would I watch it again? I probably would, actually. It's one of those films that you could stick on after you've had your Christmas dinner, after you've had a few glasses of wine with your family, you know, during that period of time where you have no idea what day it is. You could easily just turn it on. You don't really need to think too much. It is a comfortable, happy, feel-good film. And there's a lot of like forgiveness in it as well. And, you know, they deal with quite sensitive subjects such as grief. So it's quite a nice, happy, hopeful film.
It is, and sometimes, I come back to my point, sometimes you just need that. You don't always want to watch the likes of Oppenheimer. You don't want to watch the world ending or nearly coming to an end. Sometimes you want to watch a film where it's about a widower finding love again. And also where a key plot point is clearly in a small town in middle America, wherever it is, clearly only two people can play the piano. One person wins a once-in-a-lifetime holiday, and who can step in? Only the widower who lost his passion for playing piano after the death of his wife. Doesn't that just move you, Joe? You're sitting there in your Christmas hat. You look like you've already had maybe one too many pints already from the Christmas do. Does that not bring a tear to your face? A gentle single tear?
No. No, well, the thing is, I think I watched it in the right conditions. When I watched it, I was dying of a cold. So I was all wrapped up in bed, all cozy and cuddly, and I was just like you. She was like, oh, I just hope they find love. There's all these different factors, pulling them apart. And, you know, Mrs. Miracle, she's to get them back together, not back together, together to begin with. And, yeah, let some Christmas magic happen.
Yeah, and, you know, sometimes I keep coming back. I'm going to get this printed on my T-shirt for this. You know, sometimes you just need a little bit of Christmas magic. And that's what you need. And I think at this point, the shameless reason why I came up with this idea for a Hallmark Christmas special was specifically so we could talk about our next film. Because so often these Hallmark Christmas movies are set in America, but it makes it so much more important for us, the viewer, you at home, when those wonderful Hallmark Christmas movies get to come to the island of Ireland. And why else would we want to talk about Christmas at Castle Hart?
There's got to be more to life than this. You know what we do? We go to Ireland. Yes. I love this place. It's so Irish.
Castle Hart is just down the way.
I have some connections at the castle. I could arrange for a private tour.
The Earl of Glaslock? Things are about to get a little more complicated.
I'm starting to remember what Christmas is supposed to feel like.
Lacey Chabert, Stuart Townsend.
Which branch of the tree are you descendant from?
We're from New York.
So that's a look at Christmas at Castle Hart. Gretchen Wiener from Mean Girls. We're talking about Dawson in our previous film. She is coming to discover her Irish roots. Things go a little bit awry, and through mistaken identity, she ends up having to plan the party of parties for the local Earl. Claire, what did you think of Christmas at Castle Hart? Key thing, I suppose, you hadn't seen Mrs. Miracle before this. Maybe you're looking very festive. Maybe there's a film you've watched before. Had you seen this before?
No, actually, I haven't seen any of these three films before. I'm quite new to Hallmark cinema. So this was very exciting.
Well, this is why we get you on, and what's the point in just talking about the latest releases each week? And we could do a Christmas special where we could talk about Die Hard for 30 minutes. We all know it's a Christmas movie. We don't need to have that discussion. But the key thing, we're here talking about Hallmark movies and a Lifetime movie. The less said about that, the better. So, Christmas at Castle Hart, what did you think?
I enjoyed it. You know, Gretchen Wiener is fantastic in a Christmas film, which I actually found out that she's in a lot of Hallmark films as an actress and also as a producer. So I didn't know that. That's something that I've learnt. I really enjoyed the relationship between the two sisters. I thought they were really cute, and obviously really enjoyed the relationship between the Earl and Gretchen. I don't know any of their character names. It was coming from a big city in America and finding their roots in Ireland. I think because it was such like a small little town in Ireland, it became a wee bit more relatable. I enjoyed it. Now, it's like a film that you would just put on. I don't know if I'd necessarily recommend it to all of my friends, but it's definitely a film that you could put on throughout the Christmas period. You don't really have to think too much about it. You see the relationships of two sisters finding their way, finding their roots, and also getting over the death of a family member as well, and finding love. Isn't that lovely?
What more do you want at Christmas?
Exactly.
What more do you want? And you're saying you're not going to recommend it to your friends. What? I don't know that says more about your friends, Claire, than anything else. I texted Joe actually after I'd finished watching the film and said, I found a new Christmas classic I'm going to rewatch every year, purely for the fact that after watching the film, I think I've now invented a Christmas drinking game. Every time I watch this film, you have to have a drink when you see a Christmas tree. There's Christmas trees, not just one in a room. In some cases, there'll be 3, 4 in the same room for no apparent reason. There's one sequence in this film where the aforementioned Earl, dreamboat that he is, decides to go and buy another Christmas tree to put it into a room that already has 2 Christmas trees. And you find yourself going, should I be questioning this? Should I be wondering about this? No, I've had a couple of sherries. I'm going to sit back and I'm going to go with it. Like Mrs. Miracle, it's a film that has its heart in its right place. It's trying to be that warm hug of a movie. There are better films. Hallmark I've tried to pattern this, and we see this tropes and cliches in all of these movies that they have produced, umpteen of them. And there's a charm to it. I come back to my statement. I'm going to repeat it, I know ad nauseum, for all 3 of these films. Show me this film any other time of the year, St. Patrick's Day, I will bat you away. Why? Okay, I know it's in Ireland, but I don't need to see this. All the cliches, all the tropes are there. We have characters called O'Reilly, and you wait for the joke, O'Reilly, but thankfully they didn't listen to that joke. You know, I didn't get that one in. There's pints of Guinness aplenty, there's Christmas trees, as I've mentioned. My one critique would be, as much as it's a lovely story, in this case of mistaken identity and a party planning, one of the worst parties I have to see. You know, if you're going to go to a party, I want a bit more than meat and pie if I'm going to go to a fancy party. But hey, that's only a small hill I'm prepared to die on. Is that I don't really know that part of Ireland. I've never seen that. I've never seen so many Christmas trees, decorations on the outside of houses everywhere. It's a very kind of idealised view of Ireland that we see in postcards. And there's a place for that. I don't know necessarily. It could have been anywhere. It could have been in the middle America. It could have been anywhere. It just happened to be set in Ireland. That's why we picked it. It's perfectly fine. As I say, I think I found a new film for a wonderful Christmas drinking game where I don't think, if you try it, I don't think you'll see the end of the film. Joe, what about you? Where are you going to weigh in here with Christmas at Castle Hart?
I know, when I was watching it, I felt like Charlie Rose, knew when he does his interviews, he lists things off. It was like, we have icing sugar used as snow. We have reeds on the side of the castle that look like they're from clip art. There's a sleigh ride in what looks like the cliffs of Moher, or it's trying to be, but it's clearly some weird CG animation thing going on. But I think when it comes to, you know, it being a Hallmark film, it's sort of bang average. It just didn't grab me as much as Mrs. Miracle or the other film we're going to be speaking about later. The cast's perfectly fine in terms of they understand the film they're in, they acted accordingly, and like you said, the makers want to constantly remind you it is Christmas time. We're shooting in July, but it is Christmas time, so don't forget that. Trees everywhere, trees in the kitchen and everything. I don't know about food safety standards, how they were upheld there, but they were. And then we have a nice big gallop ball at the end. where everything comes together and we get another lovely Christmas miracle, because that's all Hallmark's about. And just to your point about it being a postcard of Ireland, it makes sense. It's from the Hallmark channel. They could literally take a still from this film and just slap it in the front of a Christmas card and then go, there you go.
Yeah, it's a good point you make, Joe. You know, Hallmark, they're known for postcards and cards, so maybe they've already done that. I don't know. Claire, as I say, you're not going to recommend it to all your friends. You clearly just don't want them to find love and happiness. So I don't know. I mean, now we're going to move on to our third film of the evening, our third and last film. And as I say, technically, it's not a Hallmark movie, because I made a mistake. I own up when I make my mistakes, viewers. I do apologise. We're going to move on to the Lifetime movie that is Christmas Perfection.
When are you going to give that nice Brandon a chance?
Brandon and I are just friends.
Hey.
Tom, he's the sort of person I should be with.
You let too many shoulds run your life, Darcy.
I wish I could have a perfect holiday, like you did when you were a kid in Ireland.
They weren't all that great, Darcy.
A girl can dream, I guess.
Merry Christmas, love.
Hot chocolate just the way you like it.
Why are you talking like that, Dad?
It's Christmas every day here in Christmastown, love.
I'm sorry, what now? I'm in my Christmas village. I'm in my Christmas village! It's a Christmas miracle!
So that's a look at Christmas Perfection. I'm going to be honest, the reason why I picked this film is for a while I've been wanting an excuse to see it. A former member of the team, which she still is a member of the team, she just has moved to the United States, Colette Fahy, mentioned this to me many moons ago, and she showed me the trailer, and I was very much intrigued. An idea of a woman who dreams of the perfect Christmas, loves her little Christmas village, her little Irish Christmas village, and then one day, through a bizarre encounter with a strange, mysterious shopkeeper in a model shop that's open at 2 o'clock in the morning, let's not pull on that thread. I don't want to know if that's just a front for something else. But she wakes up and finds herself in Christmas town. It's Christmas every day. You can eat all you want, you never get full, and she's got the perfect boyfriend with the worst Irish accent I think I've seen in cinema, probably since Charlie's Angels 2. Maybe even Brad Pitt would, the actor here who plays Tom, her dreamboat boyfriend. Good looking guy until he opens his mouth with a hello, how are you? Would you like to go for a ride? You're like, okay, no Tom, I wouldn't. But that's me. So Christmas Perfection, our third movie in our Hallmark festive special. Claire, I mean, you really enjoyed Mrs. Miracle. Mm-hmm. You don't want your friends to be happy, we've gathered, from watching Christmas at Castle Hart. You don't want them to find love and happiness. So our third film, Christmas Perfection, what do you think?
So it kind of reminded me of the film The Hot Chick with Rob Schneider and Rachel McAdams, where they go to a shop and they both swap an earring and then they find themselves in the other person's body. There was something quite Hot Chick-esque about it, but it also felt a bit Truman Show and dystopian as well. I thought there was something quite, there was an undercurrent of something quite dark in this film. And I don't know if I liked it. Why would you want to have Christmas Day over and over and over again? See, whenever our main character woke up on Christmas Day the first time and her parents have Irish accents, and she's like, why have you got Irish accents? That would be my nightmare, because she was just playing along every single day on repeat, and it was just the same outcome every single day. That should be a horror film.
Well, the key thing is, though, Claire, they offer them hot chocolate. They offer hot chocolate, and that seems to be the cure of all ills. I have to be honest, of the three films, this is probably the one I like the least, and it's the one I'm probably the most disappointed with, because I think there's so many things they could do with this film. And there's so many things, like near the end, I mean, it's what, and all these three films we've talked about, they're what, an hour and a half in their runtime, which is, it's good. Not everything needs to be over 3.5 hours. Martin Scorsese, I'm looking at you, Quentin Tarantino, doesn't always have to be more than 3 hours long. So it's a nice kind of breezy, an hour and a half, you're kind of getting in and out. But there's like things near the end where our centre character, she wants to escape. And then she discovers that in this Christmas world, she can't swear. So it's kind of like she will say little Christmas things, like, I'm not going to get it right, but like son of a nutcracker, and I'm going to go full Buddy the Elf there. But she'll say something like that instead of a swear word. You're like, well, why introduce that in the last 10, 15 minutes? You could have played out with it more. I think it's a missed opportunity, not that I'm going to really be overly judgmental on this film. There is a lot you could have done, and I'm going to steal your thunder, Joe, because you text me, and because I'm a bad person. You did say to me that it could have very easily been like a Black Mirror episode. In that sense, you could have done that, but I guess that was never the film that this was going to be. It is going back to all the tropes, all the cliches. We have the girl, we have the guy that's found himself through no fault of his own in the friend zone. And he deeply loves this girl. Are they going to find true love? Well, she has to end up in a mysterious Christmas village where it is Christmas every day. She's got a weird boyfriend who has the worst Irish accent of all time, and she has Groundhog Day, where it rinse and repeat, Christmas every day. Everyone's dream. What did you think?
It's my favourite of the three. No, I think for that very reason it is my favourite, in the fact that, yes, it does follow all those tropes and cliches that you get with a Hallmark film, even though, you know, it's a Lifetime film. But the thing about it that I loved is the fact that it is like a sort of Twilight Zone, you know, Groundhog Day sort of story, but they weave those tropes in and around it. And, you know, it's full of unintentional laughter for me. That's really won me over. And the appalling Irish accents, they always just add to these things for me. That's why I was disappointed with Christmas at Hart Castle, because they actually had Irish actors. I was like, this is just a disgrace. But yeah, when Tom comes up with his Irish accent, he sounds just atrocious, but in the best way possible.
He sounds menacing.
Yeah, and that's why, you know, going back to Claire's point, if you just like shift this slightly to the left, it's a horror film. And I think they should have went all out and done that, where she is stuck in this village forever. But they didn't have the courage to do that, because they have to abide by these set of rules for these kinds of films. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. Surprisingly, you know.
Well, yeah, Joe, you're never going to have this type of film playing out like a horror. I don't know. I just find it, of the three, and I'm the person who has said each time we've talked about these movies about them being warm hugs, and just sometimes people need that type of film, and sometimes people need this type of film a little bit more. Christmas is like the It's a Wonderful Life thing. You go there to have that experience, to be moved, and to leave happy sad, as they say in Sing Street. But this was the one where about 45, 50 minutes in, I did turn to my lovely wife and say, I'm a little bit bored. And having watched Mrs. Miracle and Christmas at Castle Hart on the same night, maybe that's watching the three films back to back, I don't know. I just didn't love it in the way that I hope. And maybe it's because Mrs. Miracle, all those years ago, I found completely by accident one night on TV. My mum and I sat and watched it, and it was around the time we watched it. My dad was in hospital at the time. The Christmas at Castle Hart, I've been wanting to see, and it was everything I wanted, and probably a little bit more. This was one someone had recommended to me. I'd seen the trailer, and I think it's that idea of the trailer is maybe better than the film, but that's just me. Claire, I'm going to come back to you. I mean, coming back to that point, you kind of like the dystopian aspect of it. So Joe's kind of saying this is his favourite of the three. Where's this went in for you? Are you going to be bigging up? Are you going to be team Mrs. Miracle? Are you going to go back to... We know you weren't as massive a fan of Christmas at Castle Hart, but is Christmas Perfection for you anyway the favourite of these three we've talked about tonight?
Oh, definitely not, no. Probably my least favourite of the three. I could not get on board with it at all. It would be my idea of living in hell. And I really just wish that they they went for it and made it a horror film instead because it was so dystopian, but they went down a completely different route. Fair play to them. I guess it is a Hallmark-esque film, so they have to do that. But I don't think I enjoyed that film at all, guys.
Yeah, so it's 2 for 3. You know, I'm afraid, Joe, you're in the kind of minority in this time. But look, I know we've done this a bit of fun. You know, do you think, and I'll come back to you first, Joe. I don't know if you've watched many Hallmark movies, and I don't know if you've watched others you want to give a mention to at this stage. But has this encouraged you, or has this put you off completely the idea of seeking out more Hallmark movies? Are you going to be tuning when you get home? Gather round, family, let's sit down. We don't need a Muppets Christmas Carol this year. We don't need to watch Die Hard. I'm quite content to sit and watch the Hallmark Christmas channel.
No. I have been separated from reality for too long watching these films. I need something else now. I enjoyed my stay, as brief as it was, but I'm ready to move on with my life. I'm done with Hallmark for now, which is funny because my girlfriend is just mad for these films. Like, if they're on, she'll put them on in the background. I think there was one, I can't remember the name of it, but it involved saving a dog's shelter Christmas time. But, you know, when I was actually looking up the list of, you know, the films, you know, these directors made, and obviously they've made a few of these Hallmark ones. There's like one set in Scotland, there's one set, you know, in France, Venice, wherever, throughout the world, but they're probably not actually shot there. And the thing about them as well is they do have their audience. Like, my grandmother would, you know, when you said you don't like watching these films in July, you'd swat them away. She'd watch them any time of the year. And she just laughs going, they're great. She'd just watch them whenever.
Well, your granny is perfectly right. My mum would be the same. My mum would probably watch the Hallmark Christmas channel 24/7 if she could. But we've seen other studios have tried to replicate this. I've seen Netflix has definitely tried to move into that territory. I remember around this time last year, we reviewed the Lindsay Lohan film. I forget the name of it. I apologise, viewers. But they tried to, and it was terrible. And I guess it's that sense of, well, if we bring A-list talent, we'll get viewers, and it's that dreaded thing of what sometimes producers, particularly on streamers, think of stuff as being content. We can have someone watching something for an hour and a half, and that's the key thing. And I'm not going to sit here and say I think Hallmark are sitting there, it's like Santa's workshop and they're making these films. They're as probably as cynical as anybody at Netflix in terms of their execs, but they know what they're doing with these films. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but they will always find an audience. And I have to say, you're talking about you want to come back to reality. The world's a depressing place right now. You know, it is, and I hate to be that kind of bah humbug, Scrooge kind of person right now. There's a lot of awful things going on in the world, so I can think of a lot worse to spend an evening sitting watching Hallmark Christmas Channel and have whatever your tipple is. Mine might be one sherry, one too many, and I'll find myself quite happily watching these. As long as I do get to see a Muppets Christmas Carol. That is the key thing I will throw in there, in that. As long as I get to see that and a bit of Die Hard, everything else can be Hallmark Christmas movies. Claire, what about you? As we wrap up the show, are you tempted now, having dipped your toes with the Hallmark channels, with these movies, would you be tempted to seek out more?
The Christmas classics are the classics for a reason, and these ones are straight to the Hallmark channel for a reason too. But I do like that they're only like an hour and a half long. Obviously in every film we watch there's kind of pacing issues towards the end where it does feel like it wraps up very quickly. But if you don't have a lot of time and you just want to stick something on, they're great to watch. If you've had like a few too many glasses of wine, you can't think of anything else to put on, the Hallmark channel seems to be great. You know, it's background noise and it's feel good too. But I think I'm definitely going to stick to the Christmas classics for the most part over the Christmas period, and maybe stick on like one or two Hallmark.
I don't know, Claire. I think 2024, I think my new drinking game for Christmas at Castle Hart, I think it's going to become a thing. I could break the internet with it. Who knows? Probably somebody has already come up with it and I'm just stealing their ideas. I don't know. But I could see me very happily, Christmases in the future, sitting down to watch Christmas at Castle Hart. That's just me. But look, we are out of time. There's only so much we can talk about. You guys have to go out. We have to finish our Christmas shopping. So all that is left for me to do now here this evening is thank my two guests in the studio. So thank you very much, Joe.
Thanks, Jim.
Thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you, Jim.
And more importantly, thanks very much for watching at home. We'll be back next week with our end of year review show. But for now, until then, goodbye.